Barton Distillery is back with their first finished 1792 product in the last 10 years. Back in 2015, they put out the 1792 Port Finish Bourbon, and now in 2025, they just released the 1792 Cognac Finish. Cognac finishes are some of my favorite finish types. Let's get into it. How are you all doing today? Welcome back to Bourbinsane. We've got one today from 1792 that I am excited to try. Glad to see it pop up around here in Michigan. Took a little bit longer than I wanted, but you know what? We're able to get our hands on it, so let's get into it. This is the 1792 Cognac Finish. Comes in at 95 proof and same mash bill as their normal Barton at 1792, so the 16% rye mash bill. There are no specs or specifics on how long they actually finish this in cognac casks. Most likely going to be 6 months to 2 years is my guess. Barton also did put out a Thomas H. Moore line where they've done a whole bunch of finish. I mean, that's pretty much a finished bourbon line from Barton. They've done Chardonnay finishes, port finish, sherry finish, and then of course cognac finish. The cognac finish there, I want to say, was finished after aging for 2 to 4 years in cognac casks. I personally didn't try those. They retail about $65, $70, and honestly, they sit on the shelves. So they're not super popular bourbons. I see them all the time, and if I wanted to grab one, I could, but maybe I will if I like this one that much. Grab the cognac one and see how it stacks up compared to this. But this is lower proof, and for me, lower proof is hit or miss, especially with finished stuff. But I personally enjoy the cognac finishes. I had a few Belle Meade cognac finishes. Of course, higher proof, those were, back in the day. I heard a rumor, though, that Belle Meade's coming back. Is that true? Let me know if you guys have heard Belle Meade's on its way back. But I'm excited for this one. This is a fresh crack, but I just filmed a full review of this, and something got corrupt with my file, so I got to redo the whole thing. So, yay! That's okay, though. I just get another excuse to drink. No big deal. Let's look at color on this. It's got a beautiful color, honestly. You can see the second aging influence coming through, the cognac cask. It looks darker to me, for sure. Nice dark color coming through. Not many legs, not much viscosity, looks like on the glass, but we're only talking a 95 proof bourbon anyway, so it kind of makes sense. Let's go into the nose. All right. On the nose, to me, it's got that Barton flavor profile. Little dustiness, little dusty oak. Maybe a hint of banana. More fruits, though, more dark fruits. So I'm getting raisin, plum, some kind of smoothie fruit too. I'm thinking like blueberry or blackberry. Very sugary though compared to like a normal Barton flavor profile. I don't get a huge amount of sweetness as compared to some other distilleries like Buffalo Trace. I don't get a huge amount of sweetness out of Barton like I do those distilleries. But this has got a whole nother layer of sweetness on the nose. And it's definitely a sugary fruit sweetness. It's almost like strawberry or blackberry just covered in sugar. Good nose, honestly. It's got a very decent nose. No alcohol burn coming through on the nose at all. And really it shouldn't at 95 proof. So let's go into the palate. I love the front of the palate and the mid palate. I get almost no finish on the back of the palate, though. That cognac finish most definitely comes through on the palate. I'd say more than it does the nose. As described, it kind of smelled like that Barton just elevated in sweetness a little bit. But I'm getting a lot more of that sugary sweetness and fruitiness, specifically like that blackberry-blueberry combo. With a little, that sweetness also makes you think of it almost as like a dessert, a blueberry blackberry dessert or something like that. Got a lot of breadiness on it too. I guess you think of like a fruit cake almost, a Christmas fruit cake, but specifically the blueberry and blackberry. Getting that a lot. Almost no finish though. It could just be the lower proof, I guess. But the finish is very lacking. Mouthfeel is actually decent on the mid palate though, which I'm pleasantly surprised with. Let's go one more sip here. Very fruity. As I mentioned, this is a very fruity Barton expression. I think it's just the banana, blueberry, blackberry are the big three. And then, of course, your classic vanilla caramel. A little bit of dustiness from the Barton. But it tastes kind of youthful on the palate. I'll say that. You know, at 95 proof, I shouldn't be getting much alcohol burn at all. And it is coming through a little bit. You know, even on the nose, you get a slight tinge of that ethanol. But it's more on the palate where I get that kind of youthful graininess. So it's good. You know, it's still very good, very solid for what it is. And if you're talking about retail price on this, around $40, I think that's a pickup all day, especially if you like finished bourbons. Typically, I'm not a huge finished bourbon fan, as mentioned. I'm more just I do like the cognac finish. If I'm going to pick one of any of the finishes, probably that's the one I'll reach for. I think that flavor profile meshes better for me. Barton in general is kind of like a middle of the line or middle of the road distillery for my palate. You know, I've got some I like more, some I like less, but I always respect price and availability with Barton. You know, they always have their bourbon available. It's always on the shelves and easy to find. You know, of their full line, I think, you know, they make many expressions, obviously. I think my favorite's probably the full proof because I'm a proof whore, because I like that proof. But the store picks are very, very good there and still right around $50 to $60. I mean, which is just wonderful and great. You know, I just put out a video of my top 5 store picks, and 1792 Full Proof actually made the list on there. So if you haven't seen that yet, do check that out, because a lot of good info on store picks specifically, especially if you're new to bourbon. As far as this goes, though, I did not pay retail for this. I didn't pay secondary, but right now secondary, because it's new, and I think people are worried it's going to be like the port finish where it was almost impossible to find. I never saw it, never tried it. It's about $100 to $200. You know, so I didn't pay quite that much, luckily. I did get it locally. I didn't get it secondary. But is it worth anywhere near $100? No. If I'm paying again, I'm not paying over $50 for this. And if this becomes a shelf staple like the rest of them, which it probably won't, but if it does, I'd probably get a backup. You know, I'm the type of person where I try a bottle, and not this necessarily, but if I don't like it, I'm like, oh, I could have just got a bad bottle or an off bottle. Let me get another one. You know, let me get another one and try it and see if it's different. I've been burned a lot of times that way. My wife doesn't like it that I do that. But me, who I am, my personality, like I'm that type of person where, you know, I want to give it a fair chance. I want to give it another chance to see if it was just me that week I drank the bottle or whatever it might be, you know, or if it's something where, you know, there is differences between bottles. Had that happen many times. So let me know, though, have you guys tried this new one yet? Have you had the cognac finish? Have you had the port finish? You know, what'd you think of the port finish? To me, as mentioned at retail, I'd get this again. But my daily drinker, the one I'm going to reach for all the time for Barton, is the full proof. Let me know what your favorite 1792 expression is. Or if not, what's your favorite expression in general? Specifically, cognac finish. If you get recommendation on other cognac stuff, I'd be interested in that too, because it's my favorite type of finishing. So, thanks for being here today for the review. I appreciate y'all being here. I'll see you next week. Stay insane.